This is an open letter to Mr. John Stewart and Mr. Tucker Carlson. Here's the thing, folks. Just a few words from me. I understand you're very much divided, but here's the thing, sir, Mr. John Stewart. What, you know, Tucker doesn't want to admit, say it, and you apparently pretend you don't understand what's going on, Mr. John Stewart. The reality is that imagine 50 right now 50% of the population, according to many polls, appreciate Mr. Trump very much. 50%, according to many polls. Now the question is that he may be an asshole. Arguments can be made that he's a frat boy, he's an asshole, he's one of us, as the common man would refer to himself. He's one of us. But with being the asshole, really a maybe not such a graceful asshole either. Imagine how sweet the message is that people are willing to put up with an asshole who brings that message. Imagine how sweet the message is that people are willing to put up with the asshole. Even if it's an asshole, we're okay with it. They prefer not an asshole bringing the message that they want to hear. But they have no choice. Nobody else was willing to bring the message, so the asshole brought the message. So we are willing to put up with it. Like she said, drew a, flash on her shirt and said that, he can grab my pussy. Who does that? Because nobody likes a pussy grabber, but imagine how his political message is sweet to the ears of many that they're willing to put up with the pussy grabber. Mr. John Stewart, you're denying what's in front of you. All you have to do, have a nice guy bring the same message. But none of these guys are, willing to recognize the simple reality, Mr. John Stewart. The simple reality is that the center of the empire has been neglected for a long time. Not even the educational system is enough to suffice its own needs of doctors and researchers and blah, blah, blah. It's not enough their investment to satisfy the need and even export some of these, skilled minds to other places. They don't even do that. They suck. Your education system is so inefficient in producing what suffices that they have to suck all the brains from the rest of the world. Suck them in with promise of, money and pussy. My point is this, that there is a solution. The solution is what Trump is saying. You have to admit, Mr. John Stewart, the center of the empire has been neglected, education-wise, health-wise, general, life quality of life-wise. The center of the empire has been neglected for a very long time. Everything, health-wise and happiness-wise has been declining for many decades. 1950s was you see their videos that people were, walking on air, very proud of themselves going to work in the West. Now they're just dragging themselves to 3 jobs that they have to do to keep up. He's working 3 jobs and she's working 3 jobs in order to reproduce at the center of the empire. They decide that, okay, let's not reproduce because, I can't hold on 3 jobs. And she can't hold on 3 jobs, so we don't reproduce. And then you're wondering why this is, which comes natural to humans. Why it's not happening, Mr. Tucker Carlson? Why it's not happening is because, nobody wants to hold down three jobs just to raise a kid that, you know, Jimmy Boy from Texas takes them to the Middle East, and something bad happens to them, to the Middle Easterners and to the boys. So you, you're failing in education and healthcare and general contents, you know feeling better. There's a lot of frustration out there, especially economic. And how it comes about is because you're not spending enough money in infrastructure, Mr. Johnston. Into here's the how you can put it. Look at it. It's you have a tent. The empire is a tent. The center of a tent is a mast. That mast is very important. It's keeping up the fucking tent. If that that mast at the center of the empire buckles, if that mast buckles, then there wouldn't be an empire to worry about. Its peripheries. Taiwan is a periphery. Ukraine is a periphery. Israel is a periphery of the empire into other people's businesses. South Korea, another. Now, keeping these up is an expensive job. We have to understand that inflation happens one way or the other. You use the money to build the mast, rebuild the mast, make sure it won't come apart. You can take the money and put it towards that and create some kind of inflation, or you can spend more money to expand the peripheries of the empire, or keep or expand the peripheries of the empire. And these bureaucrats who decide these matters are not really looking at the big picture. Those in State Department or in the military or in this and in that or in intelligence services, they have their little magnifying glass on their particular aspect that they control, and they want to keep the system together. Yes, but you can't escape the realities that if you don't spend enough money to keep the mast happy, what's the point of the empire? The mast is going to buckle. This is the thing about MAGA, Mr. John Stewart. I'm not going to be a particular beneficiary of any MAGA policies. So, against own interest, but I have to say that the message that they have, it's quite, imagine how resonating it is. The message that says, okay, let's pull out of every other, point that is costing us money to keep the empire at that level or expand it in Ukraine, in keeping at the same level in Israel, expanding in Israel and expanding in Ukraine. This is an empire spending money to expand. Mr. John Stewart, if the mast buckles, then you wouldn't have to worry about the empire at all. These agencies only have a magnifying glass. They want to make sure that the Department of Defense and the security agencies, and they have a magnifying glass. They want to do their job to the best of their ability, but their job can be something else to benefit the mast, the center of the empire. No, not such an expensive military, because the center of the empire, look at it this way: the more money you spend on the military, that means more money is being sent towards the peripheries of the empire. You see what? Because the center of the empire doesn't need a military. The center of the empire, there is schools and there is, institutions and this and that needs the money. You see what I'm saying? If the budget of the defense is 10 times the budget of the education, that means you're worrying more about the peripheries of the empire than the center of the empire. And please don't tell me we are order and they're disorder. We are order, they are disorder. Please don't say that we are they have this military expenditure to spread good, spread order. Good is order. These two words can be interchangeable. Order, good. That's what we are planning on to do. We bring dollars to you, and we have the idea that your girls should go to school. You're trying to bring order to disorder, but you know how it is. You have a bush in your house, Mr. John Stewart. If you like that bush to be a cube, this is for all those people who defend Israel and Taiwan and Ukraine. If you have a bush in front of your house and you want to keep its shape as a cube, you can do that. But it will cost you as a cube, meaning you want it exact to your specific definition. You can do that. Anybody can do that. It's just the time that it consumes. You have to spend the time, or you have to spend the money, pay somebody else to spend the time to keep the things the way that you like them, that is in your interest. The expenditure, the money that goes to Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine is because you're expending this money to keep things the way you like them, to keep that bush as a cube. In your view, if it's a cube, it's order. If it's not a cube, it's disorder. And it's not good, and it's savage. But have you noticed that, from another perspective, if you let the cube go, it will still have some kind of order, but it's not going to be the kind of order that you want. It's not going to be a cube fitted in a wall. It's going to form its own order. This is in case of all these so-called, good wars. There are good wars, we only do good wars. We don't do bad wars. No, war is you want to assimilate. War is you don't like the shape of the fucking bush. You want to make it a cube, so you have to expend money. Believe me, Israel is expensive because, I'm sure you folks, both of you, Mr. John Stewart and Mr. Tucker Carlson, probably lives in some kind of a gated community, or used to live, or have an experience of living in a gated community. It's expensive. Israel is a gated community. So is Taiwan. So is you're trying to create a gated community in Ukraine. Creating a kind of a ordered gated community, a cube from a bush, creating that kind of order just the way you like it, it's expensive. That's why all these foreign expenses. You're trying to keep an order to your liking. Believe me, if you don't spend the money, the bush will still have order. It's not going to be the order you like, but it's still going to be some kind of order there. Tomorrow, if you pull all resources out of South Korea, Koreans are not going to, start killing each other. No, there's going to be some kind of order. There's going to be some kind of compromise has to be made. And the Koreans are pretty good at, thinking logically, if left alone. They don't want to kill both sides of their own people. But so you have to exert this force over there to keep some kind of line between the order you recognize and an order you don't recognize. You call it a disorder. North Korea, if they didn't have a beehive mindset, they probably wouldn't have the system that they have. But you can't really change people, cultures in decades. The system have to be left alone, just like you can't make a bush into a cube. The bush is going to form their own form, but they're Korean. They should be left alone to form their own compromise, their own system. But because you want Korea as a cube, that bush as a cube, the way you recognize it as a acceptable form of being, democracy. What you're running is not the definition of democracy exactly, Mr. Stewart. It's not. Democracy has a definition of what you're running. So that means that you don't even stick to the definition of democracy. a lot of places. The whole idea of people are in control. No, no, your corporations are picking your candidates, and your candidates are telling the people what the corporations expect of them. Salute. Here's the thing, Mr. Johnston. If you let go of the center of the mast at the center of the imperial tent, the mast will buckle. And you have let go of the center of the heart of the empire for a long time. You're stretching the peripheries of the tent. In Israel, you're keeping an apartheid. You're financing an apartheid state in Israel. The moment Israel is not financed is the moment Israel becomes New York City. Yeah, we got some brown people, some black people, yellow, green, all of you. Be orderly, but you're all welcome. The moment you stop financing a gated community in West Asia, Israel is a gated community for Europeans in West Asia, a large gated community with a very tall walls, and the 2-3 million that are people are over there, they keep finding themselves on the bad side of the law, and they from time to time they gather some of these brown people from inside this gated community and throw them out into the other side of the wall, and from that day their days are numbered. you know they grab brown people that they don't like from this side, or they don't agree with, or the brown guy that has got a lot of land, they grab him, they throw him into you know Gaza, and that's over with. Now he's out. It's now the land is free. You see where I'm going with this? You can keep this gated community of Europeans in West Asia or North Americans in West Asia, but it's expensive. That's why the money that's going to keep up an expensive gated community in West Asia for Ashkenazi folks. It's expensive, and frankly it's immoral. If Israel's defenses are not financed, Israel can turn to New York City overnight. I can assure you. If they say, okay, no, you have to go, full secular. We are not going to finance anymore putting down the locals. You have to go full secular. We are not financing the gated community, those security guards that are left, right, and center. They're expensive. The moment you stop funding it, it becomes a relaxed community. Yeah, you're going to have the brown guys at the end of the hall as well, but they're not that bad either. So this is the thing, Mr. John Stewart. Ukraine, well, you're protecting the rights of the Nazis in that land to rule, or people who associate with Nazis or have Nazis ideas. Is okay because they speak of democracy, freedom. The guy has got into a presidential seat, and he's saying that the only way you get rid of me in the presidential seat is if we win the war. You see any winning happening there, Mr. John Stewart? Who's winning in Ukraine? I mean, in 2024 of your last Lord and Savior, and years later, and you're still, trying to have it out in the battlefield. It's just wrong. In Ukraine is wrong, in Israel is wrong, because they want to keep a bush as a cube. We want Israel to be a Jewish state. Why? Are you a Christian state? Are you a Christian state? Or do you advocate for Muslim states? You don't. You don't advocate for Muslim states and you don't advocate for Christian states. You understand that in this sense, advocating a particular religion as a, for the country, it's going to, you know, make a lot of people uncomfortable in the country, those who are in minorities. You understand that, so you don't advocate. But then you go in the West Asia and you say, okay, you can put up a Ashkenazi colony here, a gated community here, and you can keep expanding this gated community of Ashkenazis. You can do that, but at what price? Israel can stop as soon as you stop financing it. The gated community goes away and becomes open community. In Ukraine, as soon as you stop financing it, the fucking Ukrainians are going to, find a pro-Russian, nationalist, but of an understanding that I don't want to go to war with my bigger neighbor because I'm not stupid. I want to, will compromise in some way with my bigger neighbor, so none of us have to get killed. That would be Ukraine. You stop financing it, they find a fucking way. It's going to be pro-Russian, but what do you expect? It's a neighbor on the Black Sea. You want them to be on the opposite side? Who benefits from that? Vietnam? They speak the same fucking language. But they have to be separate because one of them is your cube and you don't want to let it be wild. You want that cube bush, not the wild bush, not what comes naturally to it. North Korea is natural for Koreans. That sort of order. Are you kidding me? Who are you fixing with these interventions? What are you fixing? In North Korea they have Kim. In South Korea they have what? 5, 6, 10 chabols that are each head of the chabul is a Kim for himself. That's their format. That's the format that they like. Order in the shape of a, bee colony. Because bee colonies are very orderly and they understand it and they like it. That's Korean for you.